The Creation of Negative Ego Structure, posted on November 25th, 2011. All minds create a negative ego structure, which stems from the fear and hate aspect of the mind. The aspect of fear in the mind is born out of its natural design as a survival machine, and the aspect of hate is born partly out of fear and partly out of discrimination that it feels when it observes its surroundings. A negative ego structure starts getting created as a thought structure through the identification of your human awareness with the fear-hate aspects of your mind. So basically, the negative ego structure gets created through two movements. Number one, the fear-hate thoughts of the mind, and number two, the identification of awareness with these thoughts. The first movement cannot be helped because that's the very nature of a mind, but the second movement stops gaining momentum once you become awakened out of unconscious identification. When the second movement stops, the negativity of the mind automatically loses influence on your vibration. The negative ego structure in a light-natured mind. In case you're not aware of my reference of light-natured mind and dark-natured mind, you can read the post, Dark Nature and Light Nature in Humans. A light-natured mind has much capacity for fear as a dark-natured mind, and hence is equally susceptible to creating a negative ego structure. The negative ego structure of a light-natured mind is mostly created out of thoughts of lack, oversensitivity, and negative selflessness, thoughts of sacrifice that led to being victimized. One reason why a lot of light-natured humans feel victimized is because of their attraction of negative realities owing to their identification with the negative ego structure that's rooted in thoughts of selflessness or sacrifice without a space of wisdom. There's also a possibility of light-natured humans becoming identified with the suffering they perceive on the outside, hence anchoring into thoughts of lack and sadness and resisting the flow of abundance into their life. A light-natured human may not even realize that they're operating from a negative ego structure because they feel they're being good, because they're sacrificing themselves for others, or because they're suppressing their desires or inclinations to please others, without realizing that their actions are coming from a place of identification with suffering and lack. A balance is established only when such a human allows himself or herself to become aligned with awareness, and thus brings a space of wisdom into their life, rather than being totally identified with the movement of their suffering-inclined negative ego. The negative ego structure in a dark-natured mind. A dark-natured mind usually has a strong content of hate in its negative ego structure. Usually the hate is directed towards itself, which it projects onto the outside. A lot of hate stems out of the discrimination such humans sense from the outside and their own internal judgment of themselves. The negative ego structure of a dark-natured mind becomes drawn towards negative selfishness, where one ends up exploiting or victimizing others for their benefit. Greed, possessiveness, chronic suspicion, and aggression, passive or active. Owing to these attributes, the negative ego structure of a dark-natured mind seems more prominent than that of a light-natured mind, but eventually they're both just as negative from the point of well-being. A lot of dark-natured humans have a mind that's naturally introverted, and this just adds to their judgment of themselves in a society which supports and forces extrovertedness as the normal behavior. In the absence of the wisdom of awareness, a dark-natured mind can easily channel its hatred into violent acts towards itself or others. It's also common for dark-natured humans to shy away from love owing to their inherent distrust of people and life, and they usually end up hurting their close ones or their surroundings out of the aggression that stems from their insecurities combined with the fuel of self-hatred. Identifying the negative ego structure is the first step to freedom. If you're not even aware of the presence of the negative ego structure in you, it's not possible for you to let go of fueling it through unconscious identification. That's the reason why I always give the pointer of starting with the simple practice or non-practice of staying as a space of awareness, witnessing the movement of your mind and ego structure. With time, you'll be able to get to the core of the negative ego and really see it for what it is. Moreover, this awareness keeps you from being totally identified with the thoughts of the negative ego and hence allows for a space of wisdom in your movements. It's important to realize that the negative ego structure is quite powerful in its momentum owing to years of identification with it. The more years you've lived in unconscious identification, the stronger it becomes a force. It also has several layers and dimensions to it because of the various aspects of your humanness into which it has spread its hold. It takes time for your awareness to really touch all the aspects of the negative ego and to get to its core. But the stronger your awareness becomes, the less identified it is with the movement of the negative ego. With the dissolution of the negative ego comes an end to all the incongruent realities that were created in its wake, and there is an emergence of a reality that's rooted in alignment with the natural vibration of your being, which is rooted in love, joy, and peace, which allows for a well-being to operate seamlessly in your human expression.